service with Waipareta Trust, and certainly officers from my team have worked to make contact. I've made contact directly in order how we progress and pick up on that legacy agreement.
When might that happen?
Well,
The offer is on the table and has been for 3 years to meet. You can only meet, Madam Chair, if there's a willing partner.
yeah, definitely. So my last correspondence, there certainly hasn't been a date set, but we're able to sit down in the next week or so to progress that.
Well, I use this, Madam Chair, as a proxy because around 89% of Māori are mātāwaka. They still have rights under the Treaty of Waitangi, rangatiratanga rights. Again, you just need to go to the Waitangi Tribunal and report Y414. So I'm just saying to you that after 5 years, we acknowledge the mana whenua, we acknowledge, and by deference do so in a whole range of ways, but we can't be ignored. Kia ora.
Thank you. Councillor Clow.
I just want to compliment Johnny on both these reports, nice and tight, this one and the previous one, and I'm accordingly happy to move the recommendations for this item.
Thank you. If I've got a seconder for that.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Taipari. And Councillor Crum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to see if you could get me a snapshot on the where the Waharoa project closure group is today. So just understanding that the disagreements between staff and PwC and IMSB about what constitutes closure for the 2012 audit. So is that Waharoa group operating now? Has it retrospectively, a snapshot of what's happened as of today?
We have scheduled in for our first meeting of the Waharoa group. I think we've got Thursday next week, so that will actually be our very first meeting. We have on the agenda our priority is to look at and come to an agreement on the actions, the treaty audit actions that were due for completion at the end of this first quarter, discuss those. Then we will be looking at the actual project plans and looking forward. But we have acknowledged with the IMSB, which is noted in the report, that we'll also revisit the 2012 outstanding treaty audit actions. Yeah, we'll also at some point revisit the 2012 outstanding treaty audit actions, but we don't see them as a priority for this first meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so it's been moved and seconded. I will put the recommendations. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
No.
Carried. Thank you. And councillors, thank you very much, Johnny and Sarah. Councillors, I would like to move a precedent of business at this time, because rather than do the local board funding, we're waiting for one or two to arrive from the local boards. So I would like to move a precedent of business to do 14, 15 and 16 before we do that. So I'll move, seconded by Councillor Quacks. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, so we will move to the budget update. Hi Tanya, how are you?
Good morning. So the budget update report is quite a easy report this month. The only item on there relates to a toilet construction that needs to be done in Titirangi Town Centre, and currently we don't have any budget in our budgets to construct that building. It relates to a piece of land that has been sold. Currently the toilet is still operational, and there's an agreement with the seller that will continue to be operational until council replaces it with a new toilet. So, and I've got some people, Agnes and Santosh, around that if there's any questions relating to that we can answer those, but simply just to get the recommendation approved to be able to get the budget in so that we can move on to work with the local board to replace the toilet.
Thank you. Right, councillor Darby.
Thanks, Chair. So I'm looking at the disposal confirmation from the former council on 101. I can't see any reference there to specifics about withholding funds for a toilet. Can I have that confirmed? There's nothing there?
There's nothing in
Rita?
that particular agreement, no. But yeah, I suppose at the moment that toilet is quite well used, so the local board have requested that, well, the staff have requested that we do need to replace that toilet.
Okay, and at the bottom of 97, staff understand legacy decisions directed construction. So what does that mean? Is there a resolution of a council or this council, or is that just anecdotal?
The resolution that was passed, we had a bit of trouble trying to track it down, but the resolution that was passed was to sell off the land. There was always the understanding that that would be on the basis that the toilet was replaced, but that was never put into the budget. So it has been going around for quite a number of years, almost close to 10 years, that this has been worked on.
Okay, so there's no confirmation in a resolution, it's just assumed. I mean, I'm asking these questions, Chair, because it's not budgeted for, and we've got to be extremely watchful of every unbudgeted item. So I'm going to ask these questions. So what is the toilet demand in that area, taking into account the proximity of the War Memorial Hall toilets, Te Uru Lopdale House, and our significant investment there, the proliferation of cafes and the availability of toilets there? So
Good question.
So how
Very good question.
how do we assess the need for toilets, taking into account our recent investments and also private investment in hospitality in that area?
Sorry, I'll just call Agnes up because she might have something to add. When we've looked at and asked the staff exactly those questions around need, the feedback that we've had is that that toilet is well used. It is well used by a lot of people who come out of town visiting West Coast beaches, so it's not an unutilised facility, but I don't know if Agnes wants to add any further.
Yeah, I agree with that. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to be able to monitor the number of people going and using those toilets, so we don't have that data available. The new toilet that's being proposed, I understand we have that ability to assess the number of people who use the lavatory.
So do we have a centres-based toilet priority list? You know, I know in parks they do. So I'm thinking about my area, and we have a deficit of public toilets as well. And we have discussed them, except they're not in budget, just like this is not in budget. So is there a centres-based toilet provisioning priority list?
I can go back and check that with our lead.
Could we go closer to the speaker, please?
Sorry. I can take that back and get some more information on that. I don't have that to hand.
So we don't know where this toilet might sit in a priority, if a priority list exists at all.
I don't have that information, but what we have been tasked with is replacing like for like.
Okay. Is the toilet mentioned in the Waitakere Local Board agreement, the local board plan, or a Titirangi centre plan?
I'm not aware.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No. So there's always been the understanding that because there is an existing facility there, that facility, when the land was sold, would just be replaced. Yes. So it
That's
wasn't
not recorded that way in the resolution. The Waitakere City Council didn't say anything about that when they disposed of the land. They could have, the proper place for that, in my eyes, Chair, would have been to record that in the resolution, that the allocation of the monies not be in full to debt reduction. It should be specified that monies be channeled to an asset replacement, and that's not there. And so I guess why I'm interrogating this reasonably rigorously, Chair, is that we're at risk of a lot of these coming up, and we have to edge that rate reduction in the annual plan down in future plans. And unless we're rigorous around this, we will never ever do that. And so I'm sort of speaking, well, there's no motion at the moment, so I'll wait. But my draft motion, unless I'm convinced otherwise, and I'd like to signal this, is that I would like to move an A, because I'm not hearing anything in support of this allocation at the moment.
We haven't had a chance.
The only
We haven't had a
opponent
chance
is
to
to
talk.
No,
Yeah.
we've had the presentation. We've had the
I'll move it, Madam
presentation,
Chair.
and I've had my questions.
And I was probably remiss, I should have passed the recommendation, but you were the first speaker.
So
and you
I would
had
like
spoken
to,
me
I would
about
like to
this, so-
foreshadow that, that the committee approve full asset sales revenue from disposal of 490 South Titirangi be applied to debt reduction.
Can
And I'd like to
foreshadow that,
reserve the
so-
right to move that, and I'll see what others have to say.
Thank you,
I'll second that.
thank you. Well, I've moved the actual recommendation, and I have councillor Quacks.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to, before I ask my question, congratulate Councillor Darby on his interrogation around that particular issue, because just a quick calculation on my part determines that the square metre cost of that toilet is around about $6,000, maybe even more than that, maybe as much as $7,000. It seems incredible when you can build a brand new house for a square metre cost much, much less than that. So it must be a very flash toilet. Look, I just want to ask a question around 1.3 on the attachment, and just help me, just remind me, if that work that's being done includes the recommendation that was made by Chris Parker in his recent report around targeted rates for infrastructure.
I think
don't understand the question.
I don't think it's something that Tanya can answer. I understand where you're coming from, but I think it's probably, we need some advice from somebody else. I mean, you're asking someone who is a budget expert on infrastructure spend, so I think that's probably a little bit unfair.
Yeah, no, look, I don't want to be unfair. I don't want to be
I
unfair
know.
to Tanya at all.
No.
But I do want to signal the fact that in terms of alternative financing sources for the council, it seems that we may have missed the opportunity to look further into targeted rates as an alternative source of funding for infrastructure. And that's what this is all about.
And I think we are actually looking at that. That will probably be part of the alternate funding that we're looking at next month.
Right, okay, well, I'd like some assurance that,
Yep.
you know, that, because
We will look at that because.
I'm concerned, Madam Chair, that Chris Parker's very good report
Yep.
is going to just end up gathering dust somewhere, it will become a doorstop somewhere.
No.
When many of the recommendations in that are very, very useful to this council and to the wider Auckland public in terms of getting the price of housing down.
I thoroughly agree with you, councillor Quacks. It has worried some of us, and you've heard us talk about it before, that apparently every time we build, for example, a toilet, we don't build the basics and we go out and we get a design and we get a this and we get a that and we get a the other, instead of just building the basics. So that has been something that's worried some of us for quite some time. Councillor Clow.
Yeah, thank you. This is an ongoing saga. I will say it's been going on for many years, and I've lived in Titirangi, just down from the village, for over 50 years, or close to 50 years. I actually can't remember how long those toilets have been there, but they've been there one hell of a long time, and they look like they've been there one hell of a long time as well. They're pretty grotty, they're pretty bad. there may not have been in the final resolution that we were, that Waitakere was going to do that, but as Chair of Finance, and I've got two fellow councillors from the West, it was always an ongoing part of the whole development that the toilets would be replaced, and as the officer pointed out, these are the public toilets effectively between Titirangi and all of the beaches. There's nothing. I'm just a bit surprised that Councillor Darby thinks that that the toilets within a private restaurant and the toilets within an art gallery are the public toilets. I'm not sure that's the case at Devonport or the library there, but I'm a bit surprised. So I would have thought we should be providing public toilets up there. They are used, and the point being made that these are people going on the way to the beaches as much as local people using them. So, but I will just say this has been an amazing saga. Just one other point though with Lopdal, if it's expected that Lopdal, both through DACO and the gallery, should be putting in, should provide the public toilets, I just remind that there's $8 million worth of public money that outside of council went into that $20 million development, and I don't think the expectation was to build public toilets with that money.
Thank you, Councillor Clow. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do support Councillor Clow's comments, of course, because I was part of that council that went through this. I mean, on the one hand, it's been a difficult negotiation, the whole land sale. It's been not helped by the local community, to be quite honest, but we finally got there. I think some of the issue too, that we have a Titirangi market there every month, and I go up there. It is, people come from all over the region to go to that, and it is the public toilet. It's used by people from all over the region. The same with the gallery using and going to the West Coast. And I think too that we also moved a resolution, I think it was at the end of last year, or just, I can't even remember now, but it might have been before we finalised the LTP, to say that in some cases when we have land disposal, we could hold back some money for local board initiatives. And so I thought this was just a part of that, which I think was unanimous. That in some cases, and I'm sure there'll be many councillors around this table that'll be wanting to support some of that land disposal money going to local projects when it comes to their turn. So I'm a bit bewildered that now when this actually we can implement this resolution that we all voted for comes to pass, that it's not wanted. So I do support it. I think just like any public toilets, they come to the end of their life. We have a program to sort that, and I'm sure Councillor Fletcher would know that, because we've got a lot of things on parks. This just happens to be another area, but it's very public. It's right on the main street. And like other businesses, they have signs up that say, this is not for public use, you have to be a customer. So I think that, you know, this is just part of council role that we provide public toilets in high use areas. So I don't see the issue here. The money is going to come from somewhere. But I do welcome the fact that we're looking at targeted rates. Bring it on. I think that's important. But in terms of this, here's an opportunity to get some money from a public sale. Let's use it.
And I'm sure some people will be very relieved. Councillor Hoss.
Oh, pardon the pun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, public toilets always seem to get the debate going. Let's not forget, though, that in our previous councils, just looking at one single board recommendation doesn't tell the whole story, and the Rotondo development goes back about 18 years. So, you know, if it wasn't all put in the very last final recommendation, we have books of recommendations to do with this piece of work, and because the toilet wasn't mentioned, it's kind of implicit in the whole debate. I'm sure we could go back and find many recommendations that you know may well refer to it. The reality here is that this, finally, we are settling the sale of this property. That's a huge piece of work, and with a lot of relief for many reasons we're doing that. I wouldn't have imagined that the local board for one moment would have mentioned this toilet, because why would they? It's already there, and the expectation was it's going to get rebuilt. So, you know, for all of you who use our beaches, for all of you who drive through the Waitakere ranges, good luck finding a loo if we don't have one in Titirangi, because we've only got 2 local cafes, and believe you me, trying to get into the Hardware Cafe on a busy Sunday, you can barely find the loo. So I think this is a bit of a, it's a good piece of clean-up work that needs to be done, and there's a logic to this that I think shouldn't be over-interrogated. No problem with asking the questions, but I think we've given the answers.
Okay, I've had 3 people for. If there's any, you want to speak against,
Yeah, I'm going to speak
councillor?
against, and I'm going to support I've seconded Councillor Darby's motion up there, which I think is the proper way to go with this kind of activity. This land was approved for sale 5 years ago, and it's just ticked over the 5 years. It's curious to me that it seems to have been pretty close to the end of the former Waitakere City Council. But we do have a policy that we will use the proceeds of sales for reducing debt as the number one issue. And we've got a mountain of debt. It's said, oh, it's manageable, but tell that to the ratepayers out there. They don't see it like that. They want the debt reduced. And so I think that we are got to be careful that we are just not the yes council. And I think we've become very much like that. Any application things that come in, okay, we'll prove that, prove this. But this matter could wait surely for the new annual plan and the new local board agreement. Why has it got to be done right now? And I think that that's an important consideration that councillors should think about. Let's not just be pushed into doing this. Let's wait and do this in a programmed way through the local board agreement. And the local board, they seem to be sitting. There's only 3 lines about what the local board say, and it doesn't say very much there at all. So I think the local board should put this into agreement. If it was another board, it would be said prioritise. Well, the local board at Waitakere Rangers, surely they can prioritise. And I don't think this should be done just on a whim because of this report comes in. So I'm not going to support it, and I'd encourage other councillors not to do that either.
Well, councillor, I mean, if anything is core business of a council, it's usually to build public toilets, but I've got
we do it. We should do it. I'm just going to say
but it
that we
says
should
from
do it through the proper process.
existing budget and within the sale proceeds. Member Tamahiri.
I wasn't going to make a contribution on such a heavyweight subject. But what I was going to say is this, that
Maybe they don't have public.
I have knowledge of those toilets too, but like Councillor Clay, but for reasons probably different. But anyway, putting that to one side.
I use the men's too.
Putting that to one side, I think we've got to be careful about being a bit mean-spirited over this. It's just a straight switch in regard to asset for asset, and it's part of it's a long-term conversation over just settling legacy-related issues. Now you can land bank this elsewhere, etc. But if you're going to go down Councillor Darby's thinking, which I think is right after legacy-related issues are sorted, I think your main point of policy is quite correct, and be one of the few times that I'd agree with you, George, in that regard. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you go down Councillor Darby's track right now, we would stop investment in public toilets in Devonport and force everybody to the Navy yards where publicly funded latrines are anyway. So we don't we start to look at others because he says everyone should go to Lopdale House, right? Well, everyone in Devonport should go to the latrines on the Navy yards. Now you start to then go around in circles. Huri atu huri mai. So because I'm not impartial on this one for obvious reasons, but I just see it as a straight switch. I accept the policy discussion that I think should be had on a totally different set of metrics, which is how many public toilets are out there, how many are up for maintenance, redesign, and the like, and then you could have a proper conversation. But to use this as a proxy for that conversation is unfair.
Thank you. And the last speaker, councillor Fletcher.
Well, Madam Chair, mine was actually a question, but I find myself in agreement with Member Tamahiri that I feel that, like you, that this is core business. There should be a process, and my question is actually to the CEO. Can he tell us, please, in the body of work that's coming through under community developments, whether or not this will fall under any area of allocation of the determination of policy? Because I don't want to see us having these protracted debates in this forum. We do need to actually have some prioritisation on these things, but this is core council business, and the beneficiaries of these toilets are not going to be the residents of Titirangi. It's going to be those who actually live from outside of Titirangi, and I would hate us to become churlish at this point on the delivery of a service that is expected from this council. So if Stephen could just tell us where this body of work that has been quite properly suggested by Councillor Darby and Councillor Wood, and just how we can proceed from here in a sensible way.
So, through you, Madam Chair, look, the important thing here is we're asking you to add something to the budget. It's a legacy issue. It isn't sitting in the budget. We need the governing body to amend the budget so that we can just get on and continue that business. So we shouldn't be turning it into a policy debate today. We are bringing you a whole suite of funding and policy issues, and the Productivity Commission's report that was released yesterday is urging councils to make much greater use of targeted rates and other forms of financing. We're bringing you the alternative financing work on the 19th of November, and that, together with your annual plan, is the place to debate the policy issue around the funding. This is simply amending a budget to put something in that should be in and it isn't there at the moment, and it would be good if we could just get that approved.
So Madam Chair, through you, I thank the CEO and believe that that is the appropriate place. So we have an anomaly. I think, given the importance of tourism, given the importance of what is occurring across the region, this should be commended today, and I hope that we can support it, but address the appropriate policy area at the appropriate time.
Thank you, quite right.
Madam Chair, can I just signal that if Councillor Darby's fail, I'm happy to move the top one.
Well, I've moved it and councillor Close, you can do that.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I didn't see.
Sorry, so...
So can I just, oh, sorry.
Yep.
Can I be clear on the process? My motion is up and it's seconded by Councillor Wood, and then it's a second motion that comes later. It's not an amendment. That is the staff recommendation comes after mine. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So can I just have a brief reply? And am entitled to. I just want to make it clear. It's an unbudgeted capital expenditure. It's not in the Waitakere Local Board agreement, plan, or Titirangi Centre plan. That's how much foresight there was, folks.
Yes.
And there's no assessment of demand.
Oh, hang on, Madam Chair, just a point of order. I think
No, what is the point of order?
The point of order
it's not
is
a matter
that's
of
a direct-
contending with me in my right of
Councillor
reply.
Darby, the Deputy Mayor has put a point of order.
That's not
And
order.
Point of orders
Sorry,
are usually heard in silence, councillor
I'm,
Wood.
I'm amazed that people can read my head as well as they should. I'd suggest they stay out of it. They might not like what they see. I withdraw.
Councillor Darby.
So it's not in any plan. Now we've got documents that guide us, and we have agreements from boards, their local, their plan. I don't think Waitakere has an area plan at this stage. I'm not hearing that there's a Titirangi Centre plan reference. We're hearing anecdotal evidence. There's nothing concrete that confirms this. So it's just not planned for, and it's not budgeted for, and it's ad hoc to just throw it in like this. And if the Waitakere City Council had that foresight, it would at least record it in the resolution for disposal at the time. I'm just going to ignore the references to Devonport. They were so lightweight. Please come better armed, members, rather than just throw that sort of barbarous statement away.
Councillor Darby.
So there is no evidence, Chair.
Right. So we will put councillor Darby's motion, which is by division, approve full asset sales revenue for the disposal of 490 Titirangi South Road for debt reduction. By division,
Councillor Nye, sorry.
No.
Councillor Brewer.
For.
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore.
No.
Councillor Clow.
No.
Councillor Cooper.
no.
Councillor Darby.
For.
Councillor Fletcher.
No.
Deputy Mayor Hulse.
No.
Councillor Crum.
Against?
Again. Councillor Lee.
Abstain.
Councillor Penrose.
No.
Councillor Quacks.
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Stewart.
Or
Member Taipari.
No.
Member Tamahiri. Councillor Sir John Walker. Councillor Wayne Walker.
No.
Councillor Watson.
No.
Councillor Wood.
Yes.
Councillor Webster.
no. Right, that's lost, thank you. So we'll put the substantive motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
No.
Carried, thank you. Carried on voices. Right, we have item 15,